So this is a normal our fur type of cloth, which is for a handkerchief, which is available in shop, and this is a PVC pipe, which is what you are using for your piping in your house. And actually these are some of the paper bits, paper in the sense that you can always make it. Let us see, like how we have a scissor, and if you have some papers like this, and you can make small pieces with that, very small pieces, so that actually you can get lot of very small things with which you can do a lot of experiments. So these are some thermocol things. So this is a thermocol, this is a thermocol, and actually from there you can break small pieces, and that's what we have broken here. So this is a thermocol pieces, so we keep those thermocol pieces here, and some big papers are also here. So we have lot of different thing. And now what I do certain thing, and just observe what I do. I actually with this it will work. I just take this, and yeah, can you see, is it coming? Yeah. Okay, yeah, once more let me try. Come. I think other pipes you take. Can you take that white pipe, or the other cloth you take? Yeah, this. Okay. What about here? Maybe just bring it here. Maybe have to charge it more. No, just charge it once more. Coming? Yeah. So you are seeing that there is some attraction. If you dispose it a bit, so things are, lot of things are getting attracted. Okay, so this you can try in your house. A lot of things are getting attracted. So fine. So this shows that there is some type of attraction between these bits of paper and the PVC pipe. I have some straws with me. So these are some of straws, and one of the straw, I charge it. How do I charge it? I keep it like this, and I just do like this, and I keep it above this, and I take one more straw. You are seeing that there is a motion there. It is moving. So there is a motion. Bottle and straw. So we had a bottle. And we had a straw. Say we had one straw. It was a circular bottle, and we had a straw. This is the straw. So this bottle, and we had one more straw, which was a charged, both were actually a charged straw. So what happens is that we want some repulsion, then only actually there will be a torque which will make it rotate. So how do we bring a repulsion? We have charged this in our body, we have rubbed it in our body, and we have charged it positive, because our shirts could charge this plastic straw positive, and we have charged this also positive. So both are positive in nature. So when both are positive in nature, they repel each other, and since it is in a small platform, actually they try to rotate, and you are seeing that these straws are rotating. Yeah. It is moving. Try to move it. Yes. Yeah. This side. Yeah, bring it. Once you get it, rolling.
You have to charge it
More. Yeah, charge it. Yes. Yeah. So this is fine. It's moving. Little more. Little more. Yeah. This is good. I think camera. Can you focus it above this? Yeah. See, there is no contact between actually the pipe and the thing which I am moving, but we are moving and it moves. So that's fine. So we have something like here. This is the ground level or the table level, and we have the cylinder here. This is the cylinder. Actually, it is a cross section, front view. The cylinder is somewhat like this. So I am just putting it as front view, and I brought a rod which is actually having a positive charge. Okay, so I brought a rod which is having a positive charge, and actually so by induction we have a negative charge accumulated towards, so it is having a tendency to turn, and that is the reason it was moving this side. So if I put the rod on opposite side, like something like this, if I put the rod here on opposite side, and if I bring it like this, so again it will, if I remove this rod I remove, and if I put it here, what will happen is that it will try to roll this side. It will try to roll and it will go on like this. It will go this side. So that is the way actually it was coming forward and moving backward. I hope you understood the reason why this thing was behaving in that particular way. There are one foil with two sides of the foil, and I am bringing this thing here, and there is a change. Okay, so yeah, this is pronounced, I think. Yeah, maybe let me take the other pipe. Let me do it like this and bring it here. Yeah, so this is fine. Let me do it once more and bring it here. I brought a rod which is rubbed on my body, or which is rubbed with a cloth, and it is positively charged. So this rod is positively charged. So once this rod is positively charged, by induction this gets negatively charged. So once this gets negatively charged, we have other accumulation of positive charge at the bottom, and which is transferred by conduction to the aluminum foil, and both have positively charged. And that is the reason actually this foil moves this side and this foil, so there is a repulsion. And that is how you see the repulsion between actually what is happening there. I'm just bringing it nearby. Yeah, can you see that they are getting attracted with each other? See, they are getting attracted with each other. One more way we can do is that I can actually take my shirt and rub it here. So I am rubbing it, I am getting it charged, and I am rubbing this and getting it charged, and if I leave it, these things are touching each other. Can you see that? Yeah, they are touching each other. So there is some form of an attraction. There is some form of an attraction between these two. So I'll try to bring it here. See, there is a flickering. You have seen? Did you see the flickering? I have actually put an object something like this. This is a Perspex object, and I have made it on a stand. This is the stand, and I have put a spirit lamp. So this is a spirit lamp, and since the lamp is small, I have kept a small stand on that, and spirit is inside, and there is a wick, and this wick actually I have lighted. So for that I am using a separate color. So this was there. So this is what was the setup, experimental setup, and this was made up of perspex. Now what I did is I brought a rod. This is the rod, not here actually, sorry, I brought the rod inside here. I brought the rod here. The rod is positively charged. I have charged the rod positive by friction. So what happens is that by induction this gets negatively charged. Okay, and we have a distribution of positive charge here. So we have a concentration of more charge. This is distributed and this is concentrated. So air molecules, these are all air molecules, these come and hit, and there is a leakage, transfer of electrons to these air molecules. So all these air molecules get negatively charged. So they repel with one another, they repel each other. So once they repel each other, this actually flame flickers, and that's what you see, the flickering of the flame. And this is actually a voltaic cell. This is actually a glass beaker, and inside that I have put dilute sulfuric acid. This is a wooden base, and these are two rods which I have actually purchased from a lab shop. One is a grayish color, it is actually a zinc rod. This is a zinc rod, and this is a copper rod. So copper rod, zinc rod, I have put it in a wooden base, and I have made holes and inserted the rod, and this is the setup. And what I do is that I make my cell and I dip it here. So I dip it here, so this becomes a voltaic. Again I bring the multimeter as we have done previously, and these are the two terminals. Now as you know that copper was a positive terminal, copper ions were formed, so positive negative terminal, and we have the positive terminal as the zinc. And then let us see, let me see how much voltage it thus creates. So here I measure the voltage. Initially you see the voltage is it is open thing, there is no voltage present. So I connect these two by thing. So we get a negative. So I am changing the polarity, maybe positive and negative polarity. If we change, we get a positive. So we get 1.04 volt, and it is fairly constant. So if we keep it, it in certain duration it may change, but there is some reaction, because if I lose this thing, there is no voltage. So if I keep here, there is a voltage. If I keep here, there is a voltage, some 1.3, and if I don't keep, there is no voltage. Now let me see that you may think that this is simply coming. So let me just take this all things out. There is no acid there, and now let me see whether there is any voltage between these two. So let me put the thing here, and let me keep it somewhat like this without, catch it, and let me try it here. You see that very small, maybe something just due to air or something, very feeble type of voltage. So voltage, though it is a small voltage, it is due to some other a medium, air medium. But if you dip it inside and if we try it again, we are getting a big voltage, 1 point something or 1.02, and it is quite constant. So we have two types of zinc outside body forms the terminal, one terminal, and the carbon rod forms the other terminal. There is a cap. We can remove this plastic cover and the cap can be removed. So we have the positive and negative, and then we complete this particular circuit. And now I make the connection. What I have to do is that I have to take one of the terminal, I have to connect it to one end, other end I have to take one wire, connect it to the other end. From here I have to connect the thing and bring back the close the circuit. So that is my Now this is what is a series. So in what is a series connection, then you understand we have the source of light, it goes to one terminal, from other terminal end we go to the other terminal, one of first terminal of the torch, and from the other terminal of first terminal of the bulb or the load or the resistance, from other terminal of the resistance we come back with a switch or without a switch to the circuit. So in this connection we have series connections. Terminal is coming here, it going like this and it going like this. So let me switch on. See, it is glowing. Now let me do one thing, let me remove one of the lamps and let me switch on. It doesn't glow, it doesn't glow. See, I am switching it on, it doesn't glow. Now I switch connect this. So in a series connection, when you actually one of the lamps gets bad or gets cut or get disconnected, the full circuit goes down. So this is the switch and this is the resistor. So now I make a circuit. Say I have a circuit somewhat like this. We have a resistor here. Again we have one more resistor here, which value may be different, say R1 and R2, and we are connecting it with a battery and with a switch, and we are closing the circuit. So this is a open circuit because the switch is open. Switch is open. Now if we make the circuit closed, the switch becomes closed and the circuit is on, the current is flowing. So current, as you know, that current, conventional current flows opposite to the flow of electrons. That is, conventional current flows opposite to the flow of electrons. That is why it is done. It is also a convention. That is why it is called a convention. Actually, electrons flow from negative terminal to the positive terminal, but current flows from positive terminal to the negative terminal, because what happens is that as we will explain afterwards, that there is something called as a potential difference, due to which all this current and all flows, and potential difference always flows from higher to lower. Water flows from a higher level to lower level, heat flows from a higher temperature to a lower temperature. So current also should flow from higher to lower, or positive to negative, but actually due to electron flows in the other way, but that doesn't matter anything. So what we will have is that from the current is flowing like this, and it comes like this, and it flows through both these resistors, and ultimately it comes back. So let the current be I. So as it flows through each of these resistor, we have a voltage drop between these two resistors. So we have a voltage drop between R1 and we have a voltage drop between R2. What is the voltage drop between R1? We have from Ohm's law, voltage is equal to current into resistance. That is, voltage is equal to current into resistance. Okay, so now we have, see, one voltage drop is occurring here, we call it V1. So V1, we have R1 I1, and we have V2 is equal to R2 I2. R1 I and I1 is not there, I, because the current is I here. So V1 voltage drop across R1 is V1 is equal to R1 I, V2 is equal to R2 I. So we have, you know, that total voltage V is equal to V1 plus V2, that is equal to I R1 plus I R2. Now if we have an equivalent resistance for this circuit, that you can make this circuit as equivalent to some other circuit which have only one resistance and which have the source which has a voltage V. Here the voltage is V. So which has a voltage V, capital R. So in this case of Ohm's law will again be valid. We have a current I and we have a resistance R, we have voltage V. V is equal to IR. So making these two, we have actually IR is equal to IR1 plus IR2. So if you take I common from both these things, we have I into R1 plus R2. So we have R, equivalent resistance, is equal to R1 plus R2. This is a very important result in actually series connection. So if you have a number of resistance, if you have a number, just type that, so you mute the thing. Don't turn on the mute. We will know it from who is turning. We will bar you from the remaining class. Please don't do that. We can know who is doing that. We will bar you. I think you don't want that. We can bar you. There is nothing great in that. You will not get any support. We will throw you out from this classroom. Don't do that. So just look here. If we have a large number of resistance, 1, 2, 3, 4, any number of resistance of R1, R2, R3 and R4 and so. So we can generalize this result. So the equivalent resistance will be given as the sum of the individual resistance when they are in series. So this is one of the results. So I hope this is clear. Now we will take the case of parallel connection, parallel resistance. So let us again erase this. If you have any questions, you can put it in the comment section. After this, I will check the comment and I will answer your question, but don't switch on the mic. It disturbs me. So we have one resistance here. We have a second resistance here, and we close this. And we close the circuit with a potential. Yeah. So let the voltage of the battery be capital V, resistance be R1. Here the resistance is R2. The current is flowing I. Current will be flowing like this, I. And it comes here, current is I here, and it gets split into two parts, I1 and I2. There are the two parts. So the voltage across these two things, again the current flows, I1 flows like this, come here as I1, and I2 flows like this, come here as I2, and they join here and come back as I. Okay, so the current gets split into two parts and they come here. So what is the voltage drop in this? We have I1 R1, and what is the voltage drop here? We have I2 R2. So these are the two voltage drop around these two things. So V1, so this is not V1 because they are all having the same voltage. So that is the trick of the thing. So we have V. V is equal to say V1, or we have I. V is equal to IR. You know that V is equal to IR. So I is split into two parts. So we have I is equal to V by R. So I1 is equal to V by R1, and I2 is equal to V by R2. So we have the total current, because the current I got split into two parts. We have I is equal to I1 plus I2. That is, the total current is the sum of the branched currents. So we have I is given as V by R. R is the equivalent resistance. For example, if all these parallel resistance is replaced by a single resistance, and the circuit becomes like this. So this is V, this is R, current is I. So we have V is equal to IR, I is equal to V by R. That's what we are using here, V by R. And what is I1? I1 is equal to V by R1, and I2 is equal to V by R2. So we have 1 by R is equal to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2. So this is the equivalent resistance which you get for actually a parallel connection. So if you have a large number of resistors, like you have resistors R1, you have resistors R2, you have resistor R3, you have resistor R4, so R1, R2, R3, R4, and these all are connected to batteries. You may have a many batteries connected one after one to make a bigger voltage. So there is the equivalent battery. So everywhere you have a voltage, and so equivalent resistance is again given by 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2 plus 1 by R3 and so and so, 1 by R4, in this case 4 are there, 1 by R4. So in this way actually you can get the equivalent resistance of parallel circuits. Now Having known this, let us do certain. How do you find the current flowing through each of these resistors? That is a very important question which is to be known. How can I find out the current? So we will again demonstrate you with this experiment whether our calculations and all are going on fine. So in this particular arrangement, I have erased everything. I just kept the basic drawing same so that you understand the particular thing. We will verify this one. So we have, at the time you can keep the this connection on a parallel connection. Can you make it? Okay. So we have 1 by R is equal to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2. 1 by R is equal to 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2. So we have equivalently, you can take the LCM as R1, R2, and we have the R1 plus R2. So we have R is equal to R1, R2 by R1 plus R2. Now we have something like, see, I1 is equal to V by R1, I2 is equal to V by R2. So I1 by I2 is equal to V by R1 by V by R2. So V by R1 into R2 by V. So V cancels, we have R2 by R1. So basically what we got is I1 by I2 is equal to R2 by R1. Now there is a principle in algebra, if you have known, that you have A by B is equal to C by D. So you can have it that A by A plus B is equal to C by C plus D. Okay, there is one more rule, that A minus B by A plus B is equal to C minus D by C plus D. So we will not use this one, but we will use this one. So using that one, we have something like this, that I1 by I2 is equal to R2 by R1. Therefore I1 by I1 plus I2. This is called componendo, I1 plus I2 is equal to R2 by R1 plus R2. So I1 plus I2, I1 plus I2 is nothing but total current I, and R2 by total, this one is that total resistance. So let us put it as R1 plus R2, all the resistance combined together. So what is I1? I1 is equal to R2 into I, or I into R2. Let us put it like this, which is easy to remember. I into R2 by R1 plus R2. So this is the way you get the current for the I1, one of the branch. How you get I2? So what we done, current in one branch is equal to total current into other resistance by total resistance. Current in one branch, is equal to, if you can remember it somewhat like this, is equal to total current into other resistance by total resistance. So this is the way actually we. So naturally with this same formula, whatever we got, current in one branch is equal to total current into other resistance by total resistance. So if we have want to find I2 is equal to other total current I into other resistance, that is R1 by R1 plus R2. So very easy to remember and very easy to work. This is the power supply which is actually giving us the power for connecting it. Yesterday we were using something like we were using a battery, something like this, but it was draining off very fast, so we discarded it, and now we are using the power supply. As you can see, in this power supply is here. And then instead of multimeter, which was actually taking lot of current, today we will be using our ordinary school level what we use, voltmeter and ammeter. So you can see this is a ammeter, and this is voltmeter. So we should know how actually we should connect before we actually learn how to measure it. You should remember that voltmeter should always be connected across the device whose voltage we want to measure. For example, if I want to measure this particular device voltage, how much volt it is, if I want to measure this, so it is not connected now, it has been disconnected, I think, so it is not connected now. So if I want to measure this voltage, what I have to do is that I have to put the thing across these two, then only I think your camera is blocking here, so we have to measure something like this. See, the voltmeter is here, and if you want to measure the voltage across the device, you have to connect it in this form. So this is the way actually we can measure the voltage. But if I want to measure ampere, how much current is flowing here, so we have to connect the ammeter in series with the connection. So we have to give a series connection to this particular thing, and we have to replace this wire, and we will do that. We will see that how we have to replace this particular blue wire, and we will connect from this ammeter. This is the ammeter, so there are two terminals of the ammeter. So one terminal we will connect it to one of the holders, and another terminal we will connect it to the other holder. So in this way we can complete the circuit. Rating. So whatever rating we want, we can give it to the power supply, and it will supply us the current. So so now this is the power supply. He has connected it, and you see both the lamps are glowing. So we have a circuit with both the lamps. You can show them, both the lamps are glowing as such. Okay, so this is the thing. Now I will just how much voltage is there across the two bulbs. So let me measure the voltage. I think this is the voltmeter, and as we showed you that voltmeter should be actually connected parallel. So I will connect this voltmeter parallelly, and I will not connect it because temporarily only I will do. And let me see how much voltage is coming. If I connect it here, you see, if I keep it like this, it's deflecting. So see, we are getting the voltage. It's around 5 volt, 4.9 volt we are getting. So this is a small current. So it matches with what you are seeing here, around 0.66 amperes you get 0.66 amperes, and your ammeter is also 0.6 amperes, and the connection is, come here, the connection is somewhere like this. All of us, just come here, you be here, all of us actually have lemon in our house. So let me show you that. See, this is a lemon. I think this is a lemon we have, and we will see that whether we can form a voltage out of it. And in fact, after some time I will show you that whether we can light an LED from these lemons. So this is called a lemon cell. Now what we will do is that first, before using it, actually we have to make the lemon a bit juicy, in the sense that the juice should be fluidly available inside the lemon. So let me press it up and down side, so that in this way we get the lemon, and we have now let me have we require two electrodes for this particular thing. So this is a lemon, and we will show you a lemon cell. Now this can be made very easily in your house, and for that, first actually you take a lemon, try to press it from various directions so that the lemon appears juicy. So this is a juicy lemon. And now we have to require electrodes. No, for any battery there are different types of electrodes. So we took this particular electrode and maybe one more electrode. So what is this electrode? This is a galvanized iron nail. Galvanized means the iron nail is coated with a coat of zinc, and that is called a galvanized iron nail. And this is a copper electrode. You take a copper wire and remove the outer sleeve, and ultimately you get this type of electrode. So this is a copper electrode. So what do we do? It's very easy. We will try to actually put this inside this. So we have done this, and so this is one, and then we will try to put this one more. So these two are there. So these are the two. This is lemon battery, a lemon. So how, you may ask, and how do you understand that is it a battery? So whenever an object acts as a battery, what do we do is that we will try to measure whether there is any voltage in that particular battery. So for that I will be using a multimeter. So let me use, this is a multimeter. So this is a multimeter. This is somewhat like yesterday we saw, it's a combination of actually a meter which can measure voltage, current, AC, DC, resistance, lot of things you can do. This is a multimeter. It's available at a somewhat 500 rupees for a smaller multimeter, or it ranges to higher amounts also, 5,000 rupees also, depending on the sensitivity, how accurate you want. So we can actually make this multimeter keep it like this, so that it can be seen. It is at an angle, we can see, and we will set it to voltage of 20 volt. No, so we will set it to voltage of 20 volt. So it is showing a zero volt. So there is no voltage as such. These are outside. There is no voltage as such, 20 volts. So now let us see whether there is any volt present here. So I touch one of the galvanized rod with this one and other with this one. See, it shows a small voltage. It is showing a negative voltage, so I have touched it in opposite direction. Let me change the polarity and let me touch it in proper way. Yeah, we get a voltage of around and it is fluctuating, because the juice is moving here and there, so it is not perfectly and it changes. So anyway, you show that there is some voltage. So we have the lemon thing ready, and I think we just have to connect it to this one. Let us see whether it glows. Yeah, it does glows very feebly. See, yeah, it's glowing. Initially it was not glowing. Did you see that there is a slight glow? It's glowing. Yeah. You see in this background, I have right touch. it really glows. What are capacitors? So you might have seen many types of objects in your radios, in your televisions, in your various circuits. So what are capacitors? Now we have been learning about the batteries. Battery gives us a flow of electrons, but can there be any type of device actually which stores charge? It doesn't allow flow as such, means there is means current will be there, but as such you can store some charge. Now these things are very important when you make say charging device, discharging device. It should store charge in some form, so that there is a delayed type of release of the charge. So these type of objects are called capacitor. A capacitor consists of actually two metal plates. You take a two metal plates and you put an electric field between the metal, means connecting the two metal plates. You can see a picture which is down in the slide. So you see that the two metal plates are connected to a resistor, to a battery, say positive and negative is there. So in that case you can see that the positive from the negative side of the battery, the electron is going, and these are the two parallel plates, and there is a small gap. It can be air or it can be some other insulating medium. So it is called a dielectric. We will fill up. But dielectric, if it is absent, it is air. So it doesn't matter. It can be a paper also. So basically you have to separate two metal plates. And if you charge it with a battery, what happens is that you connect it with a battery. The negative end of the battery, electron flows from the negative end of the battery, and it charges in one of the plate, and it becomes a negative plate. And the electrons from the, since it becomes negative, by induction actually we have the opposite plate as a positive, and due to this actually some electrons flow out since it is connected, and it comes to the positive end of the battery. So this creates a potential difference, and how long can this form? The potential difference goes on building up, and it stops. When it stops actually when the voltage formed, the potential difference formed between the plate it becomes equal to the potential difference of the battery to which these plates are connected. So now if you release this battery and you make this connection, again since it is at a potential, it tries to discharge the charges and come down. The potential difference it gets reduced, and when it becomes zero, the full charge is out. It's actually a charge. So once I press particular switch, let's say the LED glows. Now I connect the so I connect the capacitor across. So you see that these are parallel, so I have connected it in two legs. So now capacitor is connected, and we have a micro switch here, and capacitor is here. We have the LED lamp here, and now I charge the capacitor and I charge it. I am charging the capacitor. So I have charged it for a certain duration of time, then I release it, and you see it doesn't goes off immediately. It takes time. You see once more. You see actually if you concentrate on the lamp, you see it doesn't switches off. Let me take LED. If I go on increasing the capacitance by making it more, say in parallel, if I put it, we will deduce the law of capacitance just now, but just for the same thing, I am keeping many capacitors in parallel. So this is one more thing. I am wait a minute. Yeah. So I have put one more capacitor. Let me put some more capacitors. Yeah, I have put one more. Any more is there? And that's all. So now I see. Now it is charging. It has charged. It takes time. Plus now also current is there. So it gets discharged very slowly. Now see, I switch on. It gets undischarged. If you break one of the capacitor, we have already broken it for you. It was something like this. The packing was something like this. There is a plastic cover covering it. We just open the plastic cover, and then there are two legs. So we take out the two legs slowly, and see there is a casing here, so it is protecting certain thing inside. So we just open this casing, and now we see that there is a roll of plates. So we have a dielectric, and inside there are metal coated plates, and then if you go on opening it, it is somewhat more like this. So we have two fine pieces of metal, and the dielectric medium is there, and it is having the two plates. So why this is made? Because such a big thing is made to increase the area. As you have seen in the formula, capacitance depends on the area. The bigger the area, the capacitance of the capacitor is more. So if you increase the area, so if you go on increasing the area physically, it will be very difficult to make the portable device portable, and that is the reason people actually has folded or made it long as a strip and folded it and kept it inside a casing, so that you get a bigger area and packed in a smaller casing. How bell works, electric bell works. So before we demonstrate you how electric bell works, let me show you the structure of the bell. So now you see here, you see that these are the two coils, and this is the dong, this is the hammer, and we have external power given here, so that we need not connect here. We have given an external power here, and when I switch on, what happens is that this coil gets magnetized. Once this coil gets magnetized, actually it attracts this hammer towards itself, and this breaks the circuit. Well, while it attracts, actually it hits this dong and it makes a sound. So that is what will happen. Okay, so when I put this, what happens is that it attracts, see, it attracts and it breaks the circuit, and this goes on. If I keep it on, what happens, each time it attracts, it breaks the circuit, it again goes back, again it comes, it attracts, breaks the circuit, so this goes on forever. So I take this magnet, this is a our normal magnet, and I take it and I put it. See, there is something developed. So when I keep it inside, no electric current. Again I take it out, there is some voltage, negative voltage. So once I again put it inside, see, some voltage was there, again it has decreased. Once I bring it out, again there is a negative. So once I put it in one direction, there is a certain depending on the direction in which I am moving, positive voltage or negative voltage gets generated, and this is what actually Faraday saw. So this is one of the most important things, based on which actually lenses made this thing, that the generated voltage is the direction of it is such that actually it opposes the motion. This is this is a transformer exhibit which we have made, and you can see that normally you can't see the windings of a transformer. So specially we have designed transformer as per your book diagram. Can you little more focus on this one? Yeah, you can see the windings here. So in this actually winding is something like encapsulated. You can't see what is inside. It is all covered, and you can just see and say that this is a transformer. Wires are coming out. But here actually what we have done is that we have shown you the windings. There are a number of turns, variation in number of turns, and we have made this particular thing. And then based on this one, which is how the book shows as a transformer, we have connected one transformer as a primary transformer, that is step up transformer, and one is as a step down transformer. Now we will connect this and show you. So here is the voltage which gets generated. Just have a look at it, and you see that we will give a connection to primary, and we will give a connection to secondary, and we will see how the things occur. So just give the connections. Is it okay? No, you have to. So this shows actually primary. This is 1, T1, T2, T1, T1, T2, T2. Primary, secondary, primary, secondary. The voltage shows the voltage. and you can also take this out. This is starter which actually gives the magnetic field for the base to rotate. Now this doesn't rotate. To make this visible to you, actually we made special arrangement. We made a fan where we have cut structures so that you can see the field, but we will show you that the fan is rotating. And that also we can demonstrate it. See, Chandrababu has made a special arrangement for you, and we can switch on. Yeah, so we have reduced the feed. You see what is happening is that the coil is not having any motion. The bottom plate is moving. The coil is giving the torque, and coil is winded so that there are two rings, and they are actually connected in both in opposite direction. The winding is done in opposite direction, and which actually gives the required force. So magnetic field and current flows on the required direction. It gives the required force to make the fan rotate. And you can increase the regulator speed. He has decreased the regulator speed for you to actually see it. You can increase little. Regulator can be increased little. Once more you just increase it. It is this for your vision. Just decrease it fully. Actually you this is very fast. It is rotating very fast, and then actually you can reduce it. So now you understand actually that one part of the fan, everything is not rotating there. Inside this coil is constant, and only the base plate inside carries your fins, that is the blades, which makes the fan to rotate. It was a very good experience for us to actually have this online camp, and I hope this camp on introduction to electricity did introduce to some aspect of the science and engineering aspect of this electricity, and motivated you to study this subject in greater details. Thank you very much to be with us. Thank you.